right. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us tonight for the July 2022 school board meeting. If you would all please join us in a prayer if you'd like. Mr. Lamb?
Father, we're grateful for this summertime and the wonderful hot weather. We thank you all for that you do for us and for this corporation. We pray for a good summer break for our students and teachers. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. All right, thank you. So we'll call the meeting to order. The first thing is our consent agenda. Do we have any public comments? No, seeing none. Do we have any board comments?
Yes.
Administrative comments?
Please.
Yes.
I just want to give a shout out and a welcome back to Lauren Bratton, who's now Lauren Atwood, who's coming back to teach at the high school. And she's part of the class of 2006, which many refer to as the best class to ever do it at Franklin High School.
Okay.
So it's great to have another winner of that caliber in our buildings.
I see.
To God be the glory, and congrats and welcome home to Lauren. So,
All right. Well, welcome, Lauren.
yes.
Just a couple notes. On the meal rates, last month we approved the meal rates, and I know Ryan had a couple questions about the reimbursement rate, and those, we did get the reimbursement rate. It's gonna be 40 cents higher than we thought, which is a good thing. The 5th and 6th grade, when we approved them at the time, for some reason, it was split. CBIS should pay the same rate if you're a 5th grader or 6th grader. So you'll see on tonight's agenda that we're reverting back to the elementary cost for the 6th grade. And so 7 through 12 will pay the $3, and then 5 and 6 will pay $2.90. But just wanted to make sure everybody noted that was a change as well.
Anything else?
And I think there's a calendar update
Oh, yeah.
for us. And that, just a reminder for everyone, the calendar update is looking at splitting the PLC time. Remember we did a survey, we asked parents about what would be best if we kept early release or late arrival. And early release works really well for elementary parents. Late arrival works better for secondary and at the high school and middle school with regard to athletes and band, choir, etc. So the proposal tonight that we're asking the board to adopt is that we would have early release on Wednesdays for elementary, and then 7 through 12 would go to late arrival on Thursdays. We have sent out information to the parents about that. Any parent of a secondary parent that has an elementary kid on Thursday, they could drop their student off and then still take them to middle school or high school and then drop them off, and they can either wait in the cafeteria or whatever. But it allows us to kind of meet the needs of what we think the community wants, but also what we need to do with regard to our faculty and staff and students and keeping them safe and stay engaged in that learning process. So that's another change for us. And the last one is on N, the temporary loan resolution. If you recall, last month, Ms. Gross asked for the amount for the book rental. It's up a little bit more than what she thought, and so she's just asking for the board to amend to that new rate. And that new rate is, the new rate calls for $376,256.74, and we approved $350,000. So there's about another $25,000 that we needed, and so that's what's on the consent agenda for tonight.
Great. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Brian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That passes. All right. So we're going to move on to the next is action items. Do we have any public comments pertaining to any of our action items? Nope. Mrs. Betts says no. So we're going to move to the 22-23 Essential Skills Textbook Rental.
Last month, and Dr. Worland would be here. She's under the weather a little bit with her throat. I said, you know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
And so she does apologize for not being here. Last month we did approve the Essential Skills offerings, and here is the textbook rental for that. It just reflects what we had discussed in terms of the textbook resources, and so we asked for board approval those rates tonight.
Have any questions? Do I have a motion?
Move approval?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Brian?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that motion passes. The next thing is the resolution on the design-build football turf.
And Mr. Sewell is going to take this one.
Yeah. And Millie.
And Millie.
Yeah, Miss Millie's with me. As you know from our GeoBond project list, we have been working on replacing the artificial turf at the high school. And we entertained 2 or 3 different companies and had some preliminary estimates from them. But when the time came for bids, we only received 1 bid. Mr. Young reminded us that state law requires that if you receive only 1 proposal for a design-build project, that the board must pass a resolution to move forward with that sole bid. As we looked at the qualifications of the bidder, AstroTurf Corporation, their pricing was in line with what we were expecting and what we'd seen in the market, and they're certainly well qualified and experienced in installing fields in our area and in Indiana. They recently did the Indian Creek field, so would recommend the board adopt that resolution to allow us then to contract with the sole bidder for that project.
Any questions about this part? No? Okay, do I have a motion to pass for the resolution?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Brian, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Becky?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so the resolution passes. So the next thing is the turf agreement. And I'm assuming that you
So
again.
that is the contract with AstroTurf Corporation. It provides for them to remove and install the new turf, and it adds a shock pad layer to help with concussion prevention.
That'll be really nice.
So, Mr. Sewell, just curious, in the contract, if I read it correctly, there was a couple of options on the, and I wasn't clear which option we were going with.
Okay, the contract itself does specify base bid number 2 and alternative number 2.
Okay.
And both of those were selected for the increased longevity and safety of those products.
Okay.
What will they do with the old turf?
The old turf will be, the chrome rubber in it will be removed and reused as much as they can. So that will not go in a landfill, but the turf itself will be disposed of. They're working towards making it recyclable, and I think this next generation of turf that we're installing may be to a point at the end of its life cycle that it could be recycled, but as of now, they cannot recycle it.
Very good. Any other questions? Nope, we're just zipping right along.
The one thing I would say, is, just to add further to this, the original bid at the base level, we would be able to fit underneath what we had bid. And been talking to Mr. Sewell, taking the next higher grade provides more safety for our student athletes, and that would take it up to that $506,000, and then that additional $121,000 actually is going to be good for 2 cycles. Is that correct, Mr. Sewell?
That's correct.
Two
So-
what? What'd you say, 2 what?
Two cycles,
Oh,
so the
okay.
next iteration of the AstroTurf. And that will additionally help the shock absorption for our athletes when they fall or hit their head or something like that. So although it's a little bit more, we do have the money budgeted that we'll be able to do this. And we feel like it is absolutely the best for our student athletes to accept both of these.
Okay,
When will they start the work if we award the contract?
We had some discussion on that. There was a possibility of pushing the timeline to try to get it done before the weather turns this fall. And I really decided I didn't want to risk having kind of a subpar installation. So we are going to be kind of first on their calendar, starting May 26th is the first day they can mobilize, and they will not be able to start, do anything to the field to start construction until June 3rd. So that'll be past our graduation, which will be on the old field. It will also be past our track season.
And then how long will it take them to finish that?
It's a roughly 25-day
Okay,
process, so it should be.
depending on weather and?
Yeah.
Okay,
So by mid-July.
all right.
So the football season that fall should be in good shape.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Do I have a motion for this, please?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, Brian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll move on to the discussion items, and that would be Mr. Richards, the city engineer, and his friend. I don't know who this is.
Thank you, Azat. With me is Brent Siebenthal, the president of Wessler Engineering. He is here to represent our environmental consultant that does all of our work on sanitary sewer expansion, repairs, things like that. I am here before you tonight to make a request or request some consideration for a planned sewer project that the city has. This is an interceptor sewer project that will run essentially from north and east of the high school all the way down to the southwest side of town and then over to the wastewater treatment plant on South State Street. This project is important to the city because we have issues with sewer capacity on the west side of town. We're working at this point to make some revisions and perform some maintenance on our existing sewer system. However, we do need to increase capacity if we're going to provide adequate service for the entire city. We're here tonight to talk about phase one of this project, which would essentially cross the high school property from Brannigan Road down to Simon Road and down to the existing lift station near the high school entrance. This would provide service to mostly residential areas. We estimate that there's about 850 acres of expansion that would be developed as residential. This would provide capacity to up to about 2,500 homes based on about a 3-to-1, 3 homes per acre ratio. We are here to request that the school board consider donation of easements across the school property. We would require 2 easements. One is 30 feet in width. That would be a permanent easement that would run along the darker green color on the map that you see. There would also be need for a temporary easement that's about 50 feet in width that would allow the contractor to construct the sanitary sewer. Once that construction is complete, that temporary easement would revert back to the school. There would be no obligation on the school's part to keep that in perpetuity. The permanent easement, however, would serve to allow the city to go in and maintain the sewer system. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions, but Mr. Siebenthal is also here to answer any technical questions that you may have.
I have a question. I'm assuming that the city is going to put everything back the way it was before, like our walking trails and the roads and the sidewalks and...
Yes, there would be a grant of easement that would outline all of the requirements for restoration and ongoing maintenance.
And replant any trees that come up, or if you're able to?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
What would be the timing how long would it take? Because what I'm concerned about is on the east side of the high school there, and Mr. Sewell, you can help me out, that is part of the bus path coming into where our Performing Arts Center is. That lot is where they drop off. So if you have an easement along that road, and it looks like at the northeast corner there, you guys are going to be blocking off that road If it interferes with our bus traffic through a school year, that's going to be an issue for us. So yeah, right there in that northeast corner there. So have you guys worked out a timing? What roughly, when do you think how long would it take to go through that process? And then, when would you roughly estimate? I know there's a lot of bids you got to work through, but, when do you think you want to try to start it? What's the duration of a project like this?
We're thinking that construction would take primarily place during 2023.
Okay.
Depending on how quickly we can get these easements acquired and the project bid, it still may not be until December where a contract would be awarded, and the contractor's probably not going to start then. So we would be looking at a 12-month time frame, again, across 2023. And in terms of, concerns about bus access, this is not uncommon for us. We will stipulate in the construction contract documents that the contractor is to keep the road open from certain days of the week, certain hours during those days.
Okay.
Yeah, because, in the one at the bottom, that's the main entrance to the
Right.
school that goes
Right.
right across, so.
Well, and is that going to interfere with the roundabout? I mean,
That's-
they're going to be doing the roundabout at that
Yes.
same year, correct?
That's correct. That's something I wanted to add. During roundabout construction, which will be in June and July next year, our intent would be to, any closure of Cumberland Drive where the sanitary sewer would make the crossing would be during that time period. So we would coordinate with the roundabout construction
That'd be
and the
great.
sanitary sewer construction.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Very good. Anybody have any other questions?
I guess just as I look at that, for that temporary easement, just to lessen that impact on those drives, would it be possible to put the temporary easement on the other side of the permanent easement? You've got it all on the west side of that permanent. Could it be dropped on the east side of that permanent easement to keep it out of the road?
We could look at adjusting that. We've actually had these easements back and forth trying to minimize tree removal and things like that.
Sure, okay.
That's what we've been doing. So when you get up to the north side, I think if we switch it to the other side of the permanent easement, we might be getting into more landscaping features.
Okay.
A lot of the trail.
Yeah,
Yes,
because I was also looking there, you're coming right up by that maintenance building there. It just wanted to make sure we didn't get into that.
A lot of what has driven the alignment is basically us trying to find the most economical, cost-effective,
Sure.
minimize excavation. With the mounds that are out there, the hills, that sewer's getting 30 feet deep plus in certain areas. And so we looked at several options, several routes across this, the high school property to try and minimize the amount of disruption and excavation that would take place. And that's what resulted in the route that we've designed to. But the intention, I think the intent would be for us to work with Mr. Sewell over the course of the next 30 days to get these bugs worked out so that you're all comfortable with what, at the end, what we ask for in terms of
Sure.
easements.
Mr. Sewell, are you comfortable with all this, how this is playing out on the easements and all that?
We spoke today. There are a couple of things we do need to work out, but I think it's doable. The bus traffic, it comes directly in that lot. It could double back through the lot, so we have some options there. If that corner were out of action, it wouldn't stop us dead. There's workarounds, but that's a good observation. We're also looking at like our conservation easement and some of the other things that we just need to pay attention to and make sure we're not disrupting. But I think it can, it's obviously going to take some time to restore it to its current condition, but it's doable.
Did you look at entry into the cross-country course?
That was one of the very first conversations, was staying completely,
No,
get to it.
No, to be able to get to it, because
To it.
there's only one way in right now for us to, as we host cross-country meets and different things. It's down there towards the
Yeah.
first turn right there.
Yeah.
Did
We
you
would have
look
to be
at
able to
that?
pass through there. We haven't
Okay.
talked about that.
Okay, that's one thing just to note.
Yeah, that would be another thing to stipulate in the,
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I guess for me, and our lawyer's not here tonight to ask, you know, what do we need to, so Mrs. Ott, I think we need to get Mr. Young to tell us,
Right.
what do we need to pull together? What are the conditions to be able to give them the easements and that from,
Mhm. Yeah.
and
Well, we
so
can do that. 'cause
that way
this
we're
is-
clear on being able to
Yeah.
give you the, from a school side, what can we do, you know, for that? But I think you've given us enough information to go with. I thank you for that. We just have some questions that will have to get answered. The cross-country is a big one, so we don't interfere with those because we do have events scheduled already. And then, like I said, the traffic flow in and out of the school. And I think we ought to look at those weekends where the Performing Arts Center is scheduled, that would use that parking lot. Do we need to move them down, right? And just make sure that we know what's going to be impacted.
It sounds like these are all things that we can.
Oh,
work out.
absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But the city does have the main grant of easement document. We've got a boilerplate that we use. We can get that to Mr. Young and have him add conditions as he sees fit. We'll work through those. The surveyors for Wessler will prepare the plat and the description of of both easements, and it's a fairly routine process.
Okay.
Okay, so just a quick question. So you're going to be working on it, the front end, when we're working on the roundabout? So you'll start there and work back, or, I mean, I'm thinking time-wise, is it like a 6-month thing, a year-long thing?
You typically start at the low end of a project,
Okay.
at the lower elevation, and work up. That would mean that we would start at the lift station
Okay,
near the
yeah,
entrance, and
yeah.
then work north.
So as you get done, those roads will be back open, and as you're moving along
Yes.
through there. So if you start in the end of May when they start the roundabout, right? And you'd have two full months to work. I mean, how much do you think you would get done in a 2-month time period?
Well,
I mean-
we could actually start earlier than June because
Oh, yeah.
there's several hundred feet that would need to be completed before we would make that Cumberland Drive crossing.
Okay.
So we would get started and then attempt to time the construction process so that Cumberland Drive closure occurred during that 2-month period. That would be a very short window, or a short time period needed to construct that stretch of sewer.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as you finish, you'll just open up, I mean, that whole area, like on the roads and stuff, is not going to be closed the whole time you're working?
We are in the process of finishing up an interceptor sewer on the east side of town.
Uh-huh.
That's through predominantly farmland. So the contractor has staged his restoration process after completion of the sewer. For this one, we would want to make sure that we restore as we go.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I just have one other question. I think we know the answer, but on the far east side of our property, it's just cost prohibitive just to run through the cornfield on the far, between Brannigan and subdivision and our property?
Yeah. Deeper you get, the more costly it is.
Okay. I'm sure we're going to get asked that question.
Yes,
Yeah, good to know the answer.
good to know the answer, right.
All right. If nobody has any other questions, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Is
Okay.
next month early enough for the decision? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so we'll move on to board and administrative comments.
What the cybersecurity thing?
Oh, Did I miss something?
Cybersecurity
Oh, I
got moved
did.
to
I'm
consent,
sorry,
didn't
that
it,
wasn't
Matt?
on my,
It got
program.
moved to consent. It's
Oh,
with
oh,
Purdue
okay.
University. There's no dollars exchange. They just reached out to Matt, and they're offering a free program where they'll come in and do cybersecurity to our network.
Oh, cool.
We just had preponderance. Remember, we paid for that one. Matt's upgraded it, so now he's coming back in and asking, try to go in and hack our system again. Are there any errors? And so Purdue's doing this for free.
Nice.
I like that price.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so then board administrative comments. Does anyone on the board have a comment? Anything you want to chat about? No. Okay. How about administration?
Just administratively, just remember the 26th, we are having our retreat, 9 to 3. And I think Natalie's worked out for the barn. We're doing the barn at Crystal Springs. We will need a little bit of time either at the very beginning, at the very end for executive session on safety. We want to talk about that. And I think that we have met with the chief of police, the sheriff, Officer Cox has been there as well with us in that conversation. So we want to touch base about the security plans coming into the 22-23 school year. So I just need to know, do you want to do it at the beginning or the end? Because we'll have to change the posting because the member of the board, it's actually a work session for us.
Right.
Right.
But the executive session is only for us.
Right.
So just let Christy, you and I can work on that, whichever we want to work
I
on.
have to leave early that day.
Yeah, let's do the beginning then.
So
We'll do it at the beginning?
Yeah, so
So
we'll do
9
it-
to 10, is that okay
Yeah.
with everybody?
Yep.
Okay. We'll let the appropriate parties know then, 9 to 10 executive session on safety, and then 10 to 3, Natalie, would be the other board retreat. Thank you.
And then the next item is the calendar. Do we have anything other than the,
Just a reminder that on the 1st, we are going to be here to kick off, and we're having our very own Jeff Mercer, retired CFO, come back and be the keynote speaker. And as of a couple days ago, Jeff Mercer, the IU baseball coach, is also scheduled to try to make it. Jeff said that they're working on a few things, but he hopes he can come.
great.
So that'll be 8 o'clock here at the middle school.
Is it the football field?
We're going to do the football field, yes. And as you can see, it's a baseball theme, back in the swing, kind of going with what we're
All right.
having success with right now, and so we're excited about that.
Okay, very good.
And then, Christy, the only other thing is, I just need to meet with Brian and Andy with regard to negotiations. It's that time of year again. Insurance rates just came back, and if you recall, normally we have to approve those ahead of time, and even though we can't negotiate until September the 15th, so if I could meet with Brian and Andy to kind of touch base on those, and then kind of just looking ahead, that would be great, but that's the only thing I need from that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sounds good.
Do we have any public comments?
We do have one public comment, Jason Scott.
I understand about the need to update and increase, but you guys got to work on some
I
of the
can't
time.
hear you. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
This way. Okay, they need to make sure that the timing is thought of, especially with school starting. I think it was at the joint meeting between you and the city board, they were talking about how the roundabout may even be delayed. And it could be a July, August, and September type of thing that will happen in 2023. I have 2 students there. In 2023, I will have 3 students there. So I will be picking them up on Fridays. And right now, even in a good day, as we can talk to our resource officer who helps direct traffic, it is not the easiest to get through. We have a lot of kids coming from the kid parking lot, or adults, instead of coming through the normal way, going through a different route to try to get into the line. And so if we have to close that route, and I saw that there's a place where it's going to go across the road into the building to the south, that means all of that traffic has to go towards the football field and that exit there. You're going to be dealing with teenagers, parents, all sorts of that. It's already not great now, but you throw that in, and then you throw in the possibility of a delay of the roundabout. We really got to be thinking about how we can have alternate routes. Can the parents come in through the way the buses come in? That type of thing. So that we're not relying on that front-south part for at least maybe that year, that school year at least. I don't know if that's been talked about, thought about, and I'm glad that, even though I don't have any kids in cross-country, but I have a kid that's active in the football program, and they have activities on one side, and the cross-country is tied up the other side. And then you throw in the different programs we have at the Performing Arts Center. So this really needs to be planned out and laid out before the first shovel is even done to any place on our high school property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All good points.
Yes.
Well, I would say too, if, you know, along that line, that if it comes down to that you probably need to have a discussion with the drivers at the high school, the kids, and say, you know, this is construction, this is how we need to be safe, and, because, you know, they're kids, they might not know how to drive through that stuff.
That's a fair
you know?
point.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or they'll take it as a challenge.
yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. We got a lot of kids with big trucks. Yeah. Okay. Any other public comments? No? All right. With that, we will adjourn. See you in August.
Thank you.